it's me, your boy Jay, Jason Ward, coming at you from Freedom Train. Welcome. We're really glad to have you back here for part 2 of Bob Proctor and Paradigms. I hope that this is some really life-changing information for you. I know that it was for me. Again, down there in the link section, you're going to find that link for the book for Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I want you to go ahead and check that out. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that red button, and smash that like button too, because YouTube really likes to see the content that you want to see. So click that like button as well. Other than that, we're going to get back to Bob Proctor. Thanks again for choosing us here at Freedom Train. Hopefully, we're going to get you to financial freedom. Have a great day.
I would say I'm cleaning offices. I'm reading Think and Grow Rich. But you know, a lot of people were cleaning offices. They weren't doing what I was doing. A lot of people had read Think and Grow Rich. They weren't doing what I was doing. Now, I was trying to figure out how the heck did this happen? See, I had been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. Well, I knew I wasn't that smart, but I was earning a lot of money. I was raised to believe if you're going to have a good job, you have to have a good formal education. I didn't have a good formal education. I didn't have a good job. I owned the whole company. And so I started to study. You see? I thought, I'm believing in lies. You don't have to be smart to earn a lot of money. There's people that are functionally illiterate. They can neither read nor write, and they're earning millions of dollars. There's people heading up large corporations that have never been inside a school. Now I'm not anti-school. I've made sure all my kids went through school. I just changed the question. I didn't ask them if they were going to go. I asked them where they were going to go. I'm mentioning this because I believe anyone can do anything if they can sit down and write it out on a piece of paper and then work at changing what's going on inside. See, in 1990, Joel Barker wrote a book. It's called Paradigms. He said to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. Now, I had no idea what a paradigm was. And you might ask yourself, do you really know what a paradigm is? Do you understand how the mind works? Because the paradigm has something to do with the mind. I knew nothing about it. But the man that encouraged me to study this put me on a track where I just kept going from one great mentor to another. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I heard about a man in Vancouver. I was trying to figure out why I changed. I had left my own business. I went to work with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant in Chicago. Ended up being their vice president of sales. I would have gone there. I would have paid them to let me work there. I wanted to work with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant because I wanted to study. I wanted to know, why did I change? I knew I wasn't lucky. And I heard about a man in Vancouver. Somebody said, Bob, you should go and listen to him. So I got on a plane and I flew out to Vancouver. At the end of the seminar, when the guy got on the stage, I knew that he knew what he was talking about. There was just such certainty in his talk. And so at the end of the seminar, I said, I would like to sit down with you for a couple hours. Well, he said, I'd like to probably sit down with you for a couple hours, but he looked at his watch. He said, I got to get out of here. And I said, I got to go now too. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going back to Chicago. He said, what are you doing out here? I said, I come out to hear you speak. Now, I think he was impressed that I had traveled so far to listen to him. So I said, look, I'm not going to be in Chicago anytime in the near future, but I'm going to be in Toronto. And I said, I'm from Toronto. I'll fly over. I'll meet you over there. And so the two of us sat down in the Skyline Hotel. And we were there. We were supposed to be 3 hours. We were there for about 3 days. And he and I were as thick as thieves right up until he died. Now, he introduced me to this idea that I'm going to introduce you to. And what I'm going to show you is, without question, the most powerful idea I have ever learned. And if you don't understand this, the odds of you making great changes are very, very slim. I want you to look at the mind and then look at paradigms. But let's personalize it. Let's look at your mind and your paradigm. Now, let that drawing represent your mind. That, by the way, is the most valuable concept I have ever learned. There's the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the body. Okay? Now, the conscious mind is the thinking mind. Do you know that the average person does not think? Do you know that thinking is a subject that's not taught in school? You say everybody thinks. Hardly anyone thinks. I remember Earl Nightingale used to say, if the average person said what they were thinking, they would be speechless. Do you know what we do? We confuse mental activity with thinking. That's not thinking. Listen to what most people are saying. They'd never say what they're saying if they were thinking. Watch their behavior. They'd never do what they were doing if they were thinking. Back in 1981, I picked up a paper from Dr. Lawrence Rampell. Listen to what he said. Thinking is a skill which can be learned just as we learn skills such as typing and playing the piano. Few public schools offer courses devoted expressly to teaching thinking. Rather, we are expected to learn and teach thinking as a byproduct of learning mathematics, reading, history, science, a trade, and so forth. And we do learn a lot about thinking in that way. The trouble is we learn our thinking skills in bits and pieces, and we never put it together as an overall picture. If asked to describe what all is required in order to think effectively, most of us would be at a loss to give a complete account. Thus, we are unable to assess our own thinking skills or systematically teach the skill of thinking to others. Well, it's with your conscious mind you think. This is also what we call the educated mind. And I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to show you just how far off track we get with that. Now, this is where our intellect is resident. And it's the intellectual factors that give you the ability to be the creative ability. You say you're created in God's image? Well, that's where the creative faculty comes in. In our intellectual factors, you have perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition. Now, the subconscious mind is quite different from the conscious mind. That's what we call the emotional mind. See, the conscious mind can think, so therefore you have the ability to choose. You literally choose where you're going. Now, the choice may be unconscious, but it is a choice. You have the ability here to accept or reject information. When we see something come on the news about the economy's taking a dive, say maybe for them or you, but not for me. You've got the ability to reject information. Somebody starts to tell you a bad story, reject it. Now think. You have the ability to accept or reject in your conscious mind. You have the ability to originate ideas in your conscious mind. You can originate any idea you want. Now, your subconscious mind has no ability to reject. It must accept. And here's something else. Whatever's placed in the subconscious mind is going to dictate your world. It really will. And your imagination or your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what you imagine and what's real. So if you imagine something happening and you get emotionally involved, it's actually starting to happen. You may say, well, that's ridiculous. Well, the Wright brothers didn't think so. Ed Hillary didn't think so. Steve Jobs didn't think so. Think about it. Thomas Edison didn't think so. Alexander Graham Bell. See, we listen to them and think, well, they're different. No, they're not different. They're exactly the same as you and me. Now look here for a moment. I've given you the basics about the mind. Now let's look at this. Today, you're being inundated with information in your conscious mind from radio, from other people, from TV, from newspapers. And you have the ability, because you have a reasoning factor, you have the ability to think. And you can say, I don't want that information. I'm not accepting that. And you can cause it to go away. But you know something? We don't do that. Not only don't we not do that, we don't even think about it. We don't even think. Why? We leave our mind wide open. And it goes right in. What do we say about the subconscious? It has no ability to reject. It must accept. Why do we do that? Because we're programmed to do it. That's why we do it. That's our paradigm. How did that happen? How did it happen that we go around leaving our subconscious mind wide open? Because it's what's going on in the subconscious that dictates what you do. Well, let's look at it for a minute. Let's close the window here and open it over here. Now, I'm hoping you're paying attention to this because this could be worth millions to you. It can cause you to live in a healthier body. It can cause you to build your business. See, this is you as an infant. Not today. This is you as an infant. And what's going on? Whatever's happening around you goes right into your subconscious mind. And it just keeps going in over and over and over. See, you're programmed genetically. That's why you look like your relatives. There's a little particle of energy from mom and a little particle of energy from dad came together, and that was the nucleus of you. And 280 days later, you made your debut on the planet. But you have all that DNA, moms and dads, going back for generations. You're genetically programmed. Many of your beliefs have just been passed from one generation to the next, and many of them are absolutely ridiculous. Well, you see, your self-image is formed when you're in your little life, when you don't even have the ability to think. Now, self-image is just one idea. A multitude of ideas are a paradigm. Look at the people we're surrounded by. Robert Heinlein said, in absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. Now think about that. In absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. Now think of the number of people that you know that are enslaved to daily trivia. They talk about nothing. They never accomplish anything. They get the same results. If they're short money now, they were short a year ago. They were short a year before that. They're forever getting a car on payment. The idea of going and writing a check is just out of their mind. Why? Well, you see, that's probably what the people were doing that we surrounded by as we were little kids. And the ideas that just keep going in over and over and over again form the paradigm. A paradigm is nothing but a multitude of ideas that are fixed in the subconscious mind. And so here we are, as hard as it is to believe, 20, 30, 50, 60 years later, living exactly the same as we were programmed when we were little kids. Do you know that most people on welfare are fourth, fifth generation welfare recipients? It's rather strange. Now, what do? Well, we leave this situation and we go to school. What does school do? Well, let's look at it. School gave us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us anything about paradigms. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. Now think, superior knowledge. Think about it. Inferior results. What does that do? That causes confusion and frustration. Now think about this for a moment. We've gathered great knowledge, but we know nothing about the paradigm. So watch here. Here's the drawing. There's the model. There's all the knowledge we got in school. We've got it packed in there. But you know something? It doesn't equate to the results we're getting. You're going to find absolutely brilliant people getting very bad results. You're going to find people that are brilliant. They know exactly what to do, but they don't do it. Why? It's the paradigm that controls the behavior. Now listen, I've studied this for over half a century. I had no formal education. I had no business experience. I earned millions of dollars. I'm 81 years old. I've got more energy than most people that are 21. I have a sister-in-law that says he's 81, he looks about 60, and he's acts like he's about 30. Well, she got that down pretty good because that's just about the way it is. Why? It's because I understand how to use the mind. Now look it. If you want to change your results, if you really want to change the results, there's something that you've got to do. You've got to know how to change the paradigm. And if you don't change the paradigm, I don't care what, nothing's going to happen. You'll find people going back to school because they think if I got some more knowledge. No, you're not short on knowledge. We're short on behavioral patterns. And that's really what we have to do.
Check us out at ProctorGallagherInstitute.com for tips, tools, and resources.